Okay, so hello everybody. My name is William O. Right now. Today we're talking about. Well, I'm going to talk about this one, online ID checks. Now, let me see right here. It says compromise privacy and enable citizenship. Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about right now, anyway. Let me read this part here. So, online ID checks combine surveillance and censorship. These laws adopted in 19 states require online preservation, and then the driver's license is face scan on both ID systems and hacking, playing systems, secure, risk, reliable, and biased. Residents of the section of the internet, online ID regulated are both content creators. These bills allow the government to limit access, health information, and online LGBTQ communities. The Screen Act communities requirements of the entire country. I'll get into the Screen Act in a different video because I want to get to COSA first, and I'll get into the video. I'll get into about the Screen Act too. So, but today we're talking about just online ID checks in general. So yeah, online ID checks will ruin the entire internet. Tell your lawmakers, go and send privacy, no ID checks for the internet. Here, so you tell your lawmakers, okay, so here, access your country lawmakers submit check access for engagement sites. Already people in Louisiana, Indiana, and Virginia must provide government ID to access certain apps and websites. Managing open up your face and social media of choice to scroll an app demands to scan your face, or being asked to upload your government ID to access an article or recipe. This is a censorship movement. It won't rest until online ID checks wall off the huge sections of the internet where the government is a slow gatekeeper. Information freedom no more. And you can also watch this video right here too. But I'm not gonna put the video up because I don't want to get copyright. I don't want to get copyright claim from YouTube anyway. But I will read. Here. So should I care? Why should I care? Well, we want the internet to be a safer place, but ID checks won't make us safer. No. No matter who you are or how old you are or what you're doing online, in order to verify someone's identity or age, websites will have to collect and store your data. And often third-party companies that are hackable and expose people's identity and data theft. Some companies selling ID verification tools that use facial recognition and other biometric scans which are inaccurate, discriminate against women or people of color, and can abuse a law by law enforcement. Yeah, that's why. Big tech has already made the internet worse, and has hard to find information or see what your friends are posting online, misidentified or promoted content. But now, pro-life information of age gaining practices can make it even harder to access resources, increasingly under political attack, like sex education, abortion, health information, or LGBTQ online communities. The data shows that when presented on age verification mechanisms, people are more likely to give up. And sensitive information we're actually mistrustful of. Well, before I can go any further about this, let me see. Well, I think we're talking about this because, well, we're talking about pornography here, right? Or adult sites. Because people want age verification adult sites, but that's when the celebrity slope happens. That's why. And now it's on social media and everything else. That's why. And now it's coming on to device level very soon. Well, starting next year, anyway. Well, in California, and then after that, other states will follow, like Colorado and Illinois. Yeah, I know. And to me, I think having attestation on device level is going to be even worse. That's why. That's what the people told me anyway, but I don't know. I can only get the one in California. I can only give representatives to repeal the one in California. but not the ones in other states. So there's nothing I can do with Colorado or Illinois. And oh yeah, age of station and device level is also being proposed in New York. But let me tell you something. If the one in New York becomes law, there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing. So you're the one who has to get it repealed. If it becomes law in New York, there's nothing I can do about it. All right, now here it says at top these risks, age checks create obstacles. Emerging people looking for resources convenient online, and journalists able to research without a paper trail. A person and trans kind of are able to look up information like sexuality and gender affirming healthcare without fear of a search of the identity. A pregnant person in a state of an abortion ban should be able to look abortion funds without being surveilled. Age checks interrupt a free flow of information, right to free speech online. Well, you should be able to interact with communities, fandom, friends, and news, and more without putting up information of the database where you have no control over data and it can be used against you. Well, abortion is murder, yes, but we don't need to be surveilled for that. That's why. Here, no matter what you care about, age checks cause more harm than good. So the UCOSA highlights threats online ID checks. That's why. So the UK's Online Safety Act, or UCOSA, came into effect in July 2025. Yes, I heard about that. Requiring platforms and websites to verify the age of users before allowing them to access vaguely defined adult content. Yes, I just heard about that, and that's hard as I started hearing about ID age verification. In July, yeah. I didn't hear about it before, and now I heard about it, and that's why I started hearing about ID age verification. Before, I didn't even know about it. So, and now the rollout of this disaster, facing massive fines and failure to comply, many websites to shut down or block access from the UK. On websites place ID checks, but users of vast swaths of content, particularly LGBTQ+ content, was targeted. But users were also reported age gates in seemingly random communities, like the subreddit dedication to creating flag design. Bills like COSA will help bring the harmful farce of online ID checks to the rest of the world. Digital IDs will make online ID checks worse. Okay, now you may be asking, what is a digital ID? Well, if you want to know, it will be an ID on your phone. What else will it be? It will be an ID inside your phone. That's what digital ID is. Look, do you want an ID? Do you want your ID to be inside your phone? I don't. Do you want to have, look. That's what a digital ID is. You know. Now, proponents of digital IDs assure that they'll provide great convenience, but they would actually be terribly powerful surveillance tools. Many states have launched and are launching digital ID programs, but now these citizens are offered in addition to physical IDs, but they could be made mandatory for the purpose of online ID checking and other services. Digital IDs can be used to track surveil users by monitoring check websites and sending requests to government to verify identity. For example, states with abortion bans can use digital IDs to track people, reproductive health care in other states. Well, we can have abortion bans, but we don't need digital IDs. That's why. The threat of surveillance and censorship posed by online ID checks only made worse by digital IDs. Well, we could be against abortion, but we need to be against digital IDs too, and that's why. Do you want to be involved in assisting on threat of digital IDs? They considered hosting a movie night and then surveillance resistant labs in Tokyo without check out additional resources and learn more. Well, I'm against abortion too because it's murder, but we don't need digital IDs. And that's why. So how can we make the internet safer? Well, make no mistake, the great state is treating us as harmful to everyone, not just kids. Tech companies are the power exploitive aggressive algorithms of making the internet worse with surveillance and censorship and endless targeting advertising. But the solution is tracking down greening surveillance capitalists. Business model and not restricting speech and kicking kids offline. But we should be working on comprehensive privacy legislation and prioritizing people of margins. Antitrust is actually regulate these giant corporations of the endemic of justice legislation. Digital rights experts been calling for. Tell your lawmakers reject any legislation that requires websites to use government ID or AI biometric technology to be users or access. So you can also watch these videos right here. Some of them are right here. You can also do this one on YouTube. Oh, this one and oh yeah, this one was made by Deep Humor. So yeah. But this one I did for 2 years. This one's made by the person I watch, which is Deep Humor, you know. And I've been watching Deep Humor anyway, but yeah. And I know, yeah, I know. And I heard that, and yeah, Deep Humor said that he lives in California too, so. But I'm not, you know, but it's okay anyway. Yeah, but ask me. I don't know. I don't know where he lives in California, but he doesn't want to tell you, and that's okay. He doesn't have to anyway. And you know, that's fine. He doesn't even show his face on YouTube, and that's okay. He doesn't have to. You know, I like Deep Humor, and I support him. I also support Crasher Talks from Canada, because, you know, that's why. But, you know, I don't, you know, and I'm not trying to judge people any other way. You know, if people don't want to talk about something, they should not be able to talk about it. That's why. And I know they don't like politics either. But you know, this age vacation stuff got me into politics. You know, that's why I've been talking about voter ID and also billionaire tax. Anyway, so Steve says support. The internet should be improved by treating the internet of the users like criminal suspects and orientators like criminal theft. Other spheres of defending education invest in wars, police, prisons, and borders. Surveyors should think of hard before claiming be acting on behalf of children. Well, online checks don't make the internet safer. They just violate privacy and make it hard to use. As government push and non-censorship will be made becomes more vital in for their freedom. Taking that away will lead to deciding unfree society. That's what it says. ID checks endanger people by forcing them to hand over sensitive data that eventually ends up in their hands. Malicious cyber criminals and reckless police. Oh, this is direct threat to the privacy and safety and free speech. Right. These bills don't just create barriers to the internet. They enable censorship by restricting access to fake notions unfavorable to minors. Lawmakers risk cutting on people off the life information of privacy on the internet. Will be safeguarded against these growing threats to anonymity and free expression. Well, that's because they want to control the narrative, and that's just stupid anyway. They should not be doing that. Anyway. You know, over here in the U.S., it's just a violation of First and Fourth Amendment. That's why. We have our Bill of Rights in the U.S. for a reason. ID checks aren't misguided. They are deliberately attack of free speech, which is our First Amendment, by the way, and that intentionally set to keep both adults and minors from gaining such education. We need to live free and healthy lives. Okay, is this right here? ID verification laws don't protect children. They erode privacy and straight and free expression and exclude and most vulnerable from online spaces. We present members from marginalized communities, including LGBTQ+ people and sex workers and activists who are already struggling against deplatforming and censorship. These laws will only make it worse, forcing people to trade their anonymity for access and fight information and community support. Lawmakers must reject these invasive policies instead fight for digital rights and privacy, accessibility, and freedom of expression for all. Yeah. The ability to go online and ask questions and get answers anonymously must be protected, especially for people that are gender affirming to productive health care, and that's being banned and even criminalized across the country. Having a show ID to access the internet is more dangerous than ever. Children and adults will have to find out answers and sensitive questions, allowing for embarrassment, persecution, and pardonable abuse. Online ID checks have yet another tool exists. They have increasingly fascist government officials and suppress speech, target and images, expend of control and permanent individuals and law accessible of the government, independent businesses, and give up information of the users of the force of the government and come down on them. These laws are not protecting children as they purport to do. If the government serious of protecting children, it would be bust data, privacy laws, and internet users, and private business targeting advertisements of children. Okay, one more. Online ID checks are backwards and even in every sense. They punish individuals instead of tech companies and site owners. They restrict access to information. They will lead to people to even more regulated corners of the internet and protect the online kids while infringing their right to privacy information. Online spaces are crucial resources for youth, especially those who will face barriers accessing information online, including girls, trans youth, and rural youth, search information about their health and bodies. These individuals are reportedly affected by online ID checks at the time, right, of the already under attack. Lawmakers are obligated to be critical, announce and about their approach to online safety, and it's not to cause further them. These bills will certainly cause further harm. All right, and that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about here. That's why I'm against this. And now we're on the internet, see? So, talk about Arkansas right here. And talk about California, have the Digital Age Assurance Act. Now, and then also, but this will come to effect next year, that's why. Well, it'll come to force next year, that's why. When California gets a different governor, you know. But, you know, who will be? And how we're going to get this law repealed, I don't know yet. The other one we'll have to get repealed as well. It's the H4 Design Code Act, which just got signed into law in September 2022. So now let me tell you something. Not all age verification laws require ID checks. The one that's called right here, this one called the Digital Age Assurance Act. This doesn't even require your ID. This only requires your birth date on the device level. That's why. And that's what it does. No ID required. Yeah, but still needs to get. I know. It's still not good though. And then you got AB 2273. That's H4 Design Code Act, and there's also Protected Kids from Social Media Addiction Act. That's SB 976. I got signed a law, yeah, in September 2024, yeah. So Aegis Station started. So how did Aegis Station start in California? Well, the H-40 Design Code Act, which just got signed into law in 2022. Nobody has told me about it until later on. That's why. And now here's in Florida. See, got in Florida they got HB1. I think it looks like got signed a law. Okay, got introduced here, but it got signed a law when? Oh, in October 28th of 2024. Okay. In Georgia, they got SB 351. Signed a law on April 23rd of April 2024. That's why. In Louisiana, oh yeah, they enacted. Okay, yeah, in Louisiana they enacted SB 382 in July 2023. Yeah. In Mississippi, oh yeah, they enacted HB 1126. In Nebraska, they enacted SB 3, and then in New York enacted SB 958 in July 2024. Yeah, that's why. And then in November 2024. So New York, they have Senate Bill SB 694A, and also S60. Oh yeah, Senate Bill S4609A. In Ohio, they had HB 31, which came into effect in 2023. 6, that's why. In Tennessee, they had enacted HB 1991 in 2024. Yeah, that's why. In 2023, oh yeah, they enacted the AB18 in Scope Act. That got signed into law in 2023. Heard about that. And then SB 52. And then 300, and they both got signed into law on March 23rd, 2023. And then you can see right here in Virginia. Oh yeah, they enacted 854. It's called the Virginia Consumer Protection Act. Yeah, the law went into effect on January 1st of this year. So that be registration. So yeah, they enacted this one, Colorado. This one's in Vermont. Yeah. Well, the registrations they got on number 235, Alaska, which should be 271, and Arizona, which HB 2858, and in Connecticut, which HB 6587, Idaho, with Senate Bill 1417. Okay. Illinois with SB 3440, and then SB 3510. Indiana with HB 1314, and then SB 11. In Iowa, they had House File 2523. Oh, in Kentucky, they have House Bill 450. In Michigan, they have House Bill 5920. In Minnesota, they have HF 3724. In Missouri, they have HB 2157. In Nevada, they have SB 5663. In Mexico, they had SB 019. In North Carolina, oh yeah, that would be 64. And here's Oklahoma. Oh yeah, they had HB 3914. Oregon introduced SB 196. In Pennsylvania, they introduced H 2017. On Rhode Island, they introduced H 5291. And South Carolina, they introduced 3431. In South Dakota, well, they introduced SB 180. And in Washington, they introduced HB 34. And if enacted, it would have been taken effect of July of this year. Yeah. So, think about that. Yeah. So this is what it is right here on Wikipedia. Now, and not all of them require my ID because I know under the Digital Age Assurance Act is not requiring your ID at all. It's just tapping. It's putting your birthday on your device and that's it. So it's just age attestation on device level. I know, but it's still stupid anyway. And now let me get into oh yeah, and there's the Fight for the Future channel on YouTube, but I'm not gonna get into the videos in there. But because right here, it's not just because age station on device level is not just law in California anymore. It's also now law in Colorado. See, and it will go and yes, and and in Colorado, it'll be on new devices on July 1st of 2028, and then on existing devices on January 1st of 2029. So yeah, that's what's going to be in Colorado. So yeah. And then and then I found out about the one in Illinois. So oh yeah, it's called HB 511. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, 5511. But I don't want to hear. I want to see. So HB 511, yeah, it's called it's called Children's Online and Social Media and Safety Act. Okay, more like Surveillance Act to me anyway, because it was requiring. Oh yeah, it's requiring. It's requiring your device providers to have. It's requiring your device providers and makers to build a system on. Oh yeah, to have an account set up. For instance, brackets, and we'll start. Oh yeah, in Illinois it'll start in January of 2028. But I want to see where the law is at. Or HB 55 is what this name is called. Because I know I want to get into the full text of it, that's why. Oh yeah, here it is, right here. Okay. I wanted to see the whole thing, that's why. So you can read the full text of the Illinois age attestation law right here. It's called Children's Online Social Media and Safety Act. That's what they're calling it anyway. But it's more like a Surveillance Act anyway, because it's requiring age attestation on your device, on device level. That's why. So yeah, it will start. I think it will start on So yeah, so it's both be on. So both be, I think it'll both be on new devices on January 2028, and it'll be on existing devices on July 1st of 2028. You know, in Illinois. That's why. So yeah, I think it starts in California first, and then Illinois, and then Colorado soon after. Yeah, I don't like this. And there's nothing they can do with the one in Illinois or Colorado because I just live in California and I can only get the one in California repealed. I can only get the representatives to repeal the one in California because that's where I live. I don't live in Colorado or Illinois, so. And there's also the one in New York. And then the one in New York is still not. Now, the one in New York, I found out. So it's called Senate Bill S8182B. It's still in the committee Senate, and it has to go to the committee Assembly too. So. It's still, yeah, so it's still there. If you're in New York, I would just ask you to call your local representatives in New York and ask for a no vote on this, because when you still can. Anyway, before this becomes law, because when this becomes law, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's why. And this could, you know, and there's no date when this will take, and there's no date for the one in New York. Well, when it will take to do it, because it doesn't. So. Alright, so if you live in New York, the best you can do is call your local representative and ask for a no vote on this. Right now. But the ones in Colorado and Illinois, I would suggest you to call your representatives and get them to repeal or ask for a repeal or something like that. You know, no matter how long it takes. It might take a long time, but you can also do it after it goes into effect. I'll try to do something about that. That's why. But you know what? That's why. So. I try to show you, and those ones, so the association device level, those ones that don't require ID checks, but still not good. So, what we need to do is tell your lawmakers to, yeah, of course, privacy board solutions, and not ID checks on the internet. We need parental neglect laws, or we need to get our parents educated because, well, yes, we do have a bad parenting problem, but we don't need everybody to get punished by this. You know, if children are watching harmful content, you know, or pornography, you know, that's the parents' fault, and not, you know, it's not the kids' fault. No, it's the parents' fault, not the company's fault, and that's why. And if kids be addicted to social media, well, that's the parents' fault, not the company's fault. You know, companies should not get sued by this. That's just stupid anyway, because it's the parents that are doing this. Okay, if kids are being addicted to social media and they're watching harmful content, that's the parents' fault for doing this. Okay, and they should be and I believe these parents should be educated. That's why, and not do these ID checks. Now, if the parents are asking for ID checks, that's more stupid, because that's just and then that's the parents are being so stupid anyway. Because the parents should not be asking the government for online ID checks when they will ruin the internet anyway. That's why. So if there's parents supporting online ID checks for the internet, then they're stupid for doing that, and that's why. Parents should not be supporting this. They should be opposing this, and that's why. So, and we need to get our lawmakers to stop this. That's why. And we need to try. You know, that's why. We got we got BaronetBills.com for that. That's why. So you go watch my How to Go to Heaven video on Rumble or BitChute anyway. And I don't think I think I'll be talking about next video is it's KOSA. Well, I'll talk about KOSA next video anyway, because it's something we have to talk about anyway. I'll get into that next video. Anyway, I have to go right now, so I'll cover KOSA next video because I have to go right now. But thank you for watching this video. Right here, you can also read right here. So it says right here, it says add your name, but it says here, it says lawmakers website IDs make checks. It would make the internet less safe. They will eventually have information. This video requires to collect. Online censorship at age game makes people. In no sense is that age game makes people more safe. In fact, it says exposes potential harms. Eventually oppose any legislation requires online age verification or ID checks. I can call my lawmaker to do the same. Instead of ID check bills, lawmakers should work on pass a strong national data privacy law that protects us first from surveillance and exploitation of tech companies. Well, that's true. Hopefully we can get our lawmakers to do that in the future. Well, once we vote for the right people. Well, starting in November of this year, and also in November of 2028 as well, because there'll still be people we're not gonna be voting for anybody. That's why. Well, starting in November of this year, and also November of 2028 is we have to vote. Started voting for the right. We have to start voting for the right people for the internet, and that's why. And because if I don't, well, then, well, there's also November of 2030 as well. We also have to vote for the right people as well. You know, that's why. If we don't stop this, that's why. And you have to go right now anyway. But yeah, I'll talk about Kosa next video. I guess I have to go right now. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Say goodbye. Adios and 再见.